everyone, and welcome to Webinar Wednesday. I'm your host, Jessica King, and I just wanted to say a quick thank you for joining us today. Believe it or not, summer is about halfway over and school is almost back in session. Today's speaker, Pediatrician Dr. Erin Eckhart, will go over some tips to help get you back into the school spirit and off to a good start for the school year. Here's a little more info on today's speaker. Dr. Eckhart is board certified by the American Board of Pediatrics. Her clinical interests include developing continuity of care with patients and families, supporting new mothers with breastfeeding, preventative care, parental education, and adolescent care. She joined Kelsey-Seybold in July of 2014, which means you're celebrating your 2-year anniversary with us.
Yes,
congratulations. And she practices at the Clear Lake location. Don't forget, we'll be taking any questions you have at the end of the webinar. If a question happens to pop up, just type it into your question box and we'll do our best to address it after Dr. Eckhart's presentation. And now I'll turn it over to you, Dr. Eckhart.
Okay, well, it's great to be here today. This is the first time I've ever done a webinar before, so bear with me. Hopefully this will go well. So for most of us, it feels like summer has just begun, but in reality, the school year is about to come back on us. I'm sure for most of you, you're just getting ready to sleeping late, staying up late, having that relaxed schedule, but it's going to end before we know it. Just remind you that it's not too early for us to really start preparing for the new school year so that we can help ease back into the swing of things. So today we are going to talk about a few things to help your family transition back. First, we'll talk about sleep and meals, two very important topics. We will also talk about some ways to overall help your family get organized to make the year smooth. So first off, bedtime and routines. One of the best parts of summer, not just for kids, but for parents too, is the relaxed schedule. It's a great time to take advantage of the long days to play outside and then stay up late. However, it's also one of the trickiest things to battle when your family is preparing to go back to the new school year. I really encourage families to start early with transitioning back into the school year routine. Start at least 1 to 2 weeks before the first day of school. I suggest making the bedtime about 15 to 20 minutes earlier each night until you've returned to that regular school bedtime. I think this just helps ease that transition a little bit easier for the family. The same thing goes for the wake-up time each day. Make that just a little bit earlier as well until you get back to that school wake-up time. I promise this will help things go much smoother the first week back to school and help ensure that your kids are getting an adequate amount of rest to succeed in school. Keep in mind other routines that may go along with this. Picking out clothes the night before to make that next morning go smoother. Think about also alarm clocks. Your child, this may be their first year in school, first time they've used an alarm clock. Make sure they know how it works and how to stop it the next morning. My son went to started kindergarten last year, and although we had talked about how to use the alarm clock, I apparently had not told him how to make the sound stop. So he came running down the stairs the first day of school, not able to stop his alarm clock. Other things like making the bed every day might have been more relaxed during the summertime, so start trying to get back in the routine and hang again of doing those, making those beds every morning. Okay, now healthy meals. Hopefully you're still eating healthy meals over the summer too, but a very important topic for the school year. I'm sure most of us heard from our parents when we were growing up that breakfast was the most important meal of the day, and guess what? They were right. You're probably saying that to your kids now too. Studies have shown that kids who eat breakfast perform better in school. They have more energy and better concentration. Not to mention, skipping breakfast has been linked to obesity. The body needs breakfast in the morning to get the metabolism going, so it truly is the most important meal of the day. Try to provide your child with healthy breakfast foods to boost their brain power. Try to avoid too much sweet or sugary processed foods in the morning. Make healthy choices. Eggs are a great choice. They're full of protein, whole wheat toast, 2% milk, whole wheat cereals, fresh fruits, oatmeals. Those are all good choices to keep your child full and ready for the day. Lunch, that also can be another choice. Whether your child's going to pack his or her lunch or buy lunches at school. Try to get the calendar from the school ahead of time, looking at it at the beginning of the month and maybe circling which days your child wants to take their lunch so that you're organized and ready ahead of time for that. Another thing with that is to check with the school about, is there an account that you need to put money on in order for them to be able to buy those lunches. As for if you'll be packing their lunch, another thing to think about is trying to get it done the night before. Might help you be more organized in the morning and get out the door a little faster. As far as healthy choices for lunch, be sure to include some type of lean protein, fruits, vegetables, something healthy to drink. I always encourage water at lunchtime. Try to avoid those sugary, sweet juices or too much soda. Those can taste good at lunch, but then cause kind of a sugar peak later in the afternoon. So water really is the best choice with the kiddos. Okay, so some thoughts on getting organized for the school year. One of the best things you can do leading up to the start of the year is to start making to-do lists. Have those ready. They will help you have a more prepared first day, and even the first few weeks can go smoother with that. Another great tip is to have a family calendar, maybe in the kitchen or breakfast room, using a whiteboard and an easy to find place in the home so that you can keep a list of school commitments, work commitments for parents, after school commitments. It can just help everyone in the family know when and where everyone has to be somewhere. Another important thing to do is think about getting those closets organized. Take out put away the summer clothes, put the school clothes out, making them a little bit easier to access. As I mentioned before, it's also a great idea to pick out clothes the night before just to help make those mornings run a little bit smoother. Another tip is one of the things that slows us down the most in the morning seems to always be either my husband can't find his keys, I can't find my keys, always those types of little things. And I recently learned about the tiles that can be used that connect to an app on your phone to help find things. And I really thought this was a great idea. I even have a friend who uses it with kids' backpacks and lunch boxes, and that just helps you be able to find those things a little faster in the morning times. Okay, so let's move on to a few other things that we'll talk about to help make things nice and organized. So, pep talks. It's important for us to remember that kids need encouragement and motivation. That's one of our biggest jobs as parents, to help provide that. The beginning of a new school year can be a little scary for kids. Some may be starting a new school. Some may be starting school for the very first time. So this is kindergarten year. It's also a new year of making new friends, meeting new teachers, new routines at school. It all can be a little overwhelming at times. It's very important for us as parents to have a positive outlook on the new year, talk to our kids about the routines, the new things that are coming with the school year. This will help get them excited and confident for the year. One great way to do this can sometimes be reading books with your children about transitions with starting school. One great example is The Kissing Hand. It's a sweet little book that talks about starting school and missing your parents when you're off at school. So that can be a good way to talk about that and work out those emotions with your younger children. Another great idea during the school day is to send sweet notes in their lunch boxes, just to remind them each day that you are thinking about them even though they're off at school. Okay. So school supplies. Ooh, this is a tough topic, I think. I feel like back when I was a child, the list was pretty simple. A box of crayons, some number 2 pencils, maybe a bottle of Elmer's glue. Pretty simple. But let me tell you, technology today, these school supply lists have become much, much more complicated. School supply lists are usually accessible online, and I definitely recommend getting a copy of that list sooner rather than later. There will be lots of other families looking for the same things that you are, and sometimes the stores and, unfortunately, even Amazon can run out of some of these things. One thing to keep in mind is that the PTAs at many of the schools do sell prepackaged supplies for a flat set fee. If your school has that, I recommend jump on that opportunity. I learned this the hard way last year as I was fighting over the last vinyl 3-punched blue folder that Target had to offer. It was seriously such a specific list, and they ran out so quickly of some of those things. Another thing to keep in mind is that teachers often run out of supplies too as the year goes on. Think about sending some extra supplies, crayons, Kleenex, hand sanitizer, things that are used every day. This will be really helpful, and your kids' teachers will love you for that. Okay, travel safety. Another important part of getting organized for the school year is deciding how your child will be getting to and from school and how to do it safely. Depending on where you live, your child may be able to walk or bike to school if you're close, or they may have to ride the bus. So let's talk about walking safely. If your child will be walking to school, be sure to plan out the route before school starts. Work with them on making sure that they are comfortable with the route. Try to find a route that will have the fewest street crossings, and if possible, take routes that there is a crossing guard to help your child out. Also try to have your child walk with a sibling, a friend, or a neighbor so that there's that safety in numbers. Okay. Biking safety, again, another great way to get to school and get a little extra exercise in there each day too. Again, be sure to map out the route to the school so that your child is comfortable with that. Work with your child on understanding how to ride along with the flow of traffic and how to use hand signals if they will be crossing some busy streets. It's also very important to stress wearing that bicycle helmet every time they are on their bike. So important. Okay, so other kids may be riding the bus to school. It is important to talk to your child about how to safely enter and exit the bus by looking for any traffic before they are crossing the street. I also recommend talking to them about what to expect on the bus, explain the importance of behaving and following the directions of the bus driver, make sure they understand they need to be sitting down and not moving around and playing on the bus. On another note, it's also important to explain to them that there are no seatbelts on the school bus. My son, again, when he started kindergarten last year, was so excited to get to ride the bus for the first time, and I had it all set up for him to ride the bus home from kindergarten on the first day of school. When he arrived home, he was just in shock and told his stepfather that he did not think he was ever going to get to ride the bus again because there were no seatbelts. It was so cute, and obviously we've done some good talking to him about car safety, but it took a while to explain to him that school buses do not actually have seatbelts and it is okay to ride on them. So let's see, packing the right backpack. Picking out a backpack is one of the exciting things about a new school year, but be sure to explain to your kids that it's not just about the style, the looks, which character is on that backpack. It's also about function. You want to choose one with wide padded shoulder straps and a padded back so that it's most comfortable for them. Try to explain to them always to use both straps to help distribute the weight, and explain to them to avoid overpacking the backpack, because if there's too much in there, it can certainly cause some stress on the back, and I certainly see kiddos in the clinic with back pain from overloaded backpacks. So we don't want that to be your kid. Let's see, and homework. Okay, so I'm sure we have all enjoyed the nice break from homework that summer offers, but it will soon be here again. Talk to your kids early about the expectations and priorities of getting homework done. Every family has a little bit different routines, and every family is going to do things a little bit differently. Kids do need some time to relax and have a healthy snack when they get home, but I really recommend trying to encourage them to get their homework done early. Have a dedicated time and a quiet place for them to get their work done. Be sure to provide help when they ask, but also help foster their independence with completing the work. I recommend having some sort of set rule as far as needing to have the homework done before they have any sort of screen time or time to play outside. I think this just helps set up and establish the rules early. Another word on screen time during the school week. Each family, again, is going to have different routines and a different amount of time available, but I really recommend setting a limit on how much screen time is allowed during the school year. We want to make sure that they're getting their homework done, that they're getting a healthy dinner, and getting to bed on time. So having a limit on this is a good idea. And my suggestion is to usually keep it at an hour or less on school days. So let's see. One of our last tips is to take advantage of the time your kids have off this summer to see their pediatrician for their annual checkups and get dental checkups as well. This is especially important for teenagers, oftentimes who are playing sports, because they will be required to have an up-to-date sports physical done prior to sports participation each year. So try to make sure it gets done early in the summer so you avoid having any unhappy teenagers who are not able to start practicing or doing games at the beginning of the year because of the lack of, if they haven't gotten their physical done. It's also a great time to talk with your pediatrician about any concerns you may have going into a new school year and give you time to sort of address and make changes if you needed to before the school year will begin. So let's see, as a bonus tip here, it's also an important time to make sure your child's vaccinations are all up to date. And don't forget, too, that we do usually start receiving our shipments of the annual flu vaccine in late August or early September. So be sure to check with us on that and get your child protected before the school year starts. Okay, so now I think we are going to open it up to some questions.
Yes, and I actually want to start us off with some questions. Do you have any suggestions for kids that are starting a new school and they have some apprehensions about it? Or what did you do with your son trying to get him ready for kindergarten? Did you take him to the school? And
most schools are going to have some sort of registration or orientation, so I think it's extremely important to go visit the school. I think we can all remember what it was like to be in elementary school, and the school seems so huge, so big, and just overwhelming. So I think walking around it and getting a feel for it really helps them to be comfortable. I also think it's great to meet the teacher and have a chance to talk with the teacher and meet some of the other kids that may be in the class so that they feel comfortable with where they will be each day.
Awesome. I have another question quickly on the topic of meeting other kids. Do you think daycare is a good option before school starts to get kids kind of acclimated to a routine of school and maybe like meeting new kids and interacting with children?
Okay, as in daycare prior to starting kindergarten?
Yeah.
I think that it's different for each family as far as what the needs are, if parents are working and they need the daycare, or if parents are at home. Either way, I think it is important for kids to have the chance and opportunity to be around other kids and get used to being around other children, interact with them, learn how to share, learn how to hear no, all those types of things.
Awesome.
Okay, so here we have some questions. Let's see. Let's see. What are some good after-school snacks? So again, trying to stay nice and healthy. Things like apples, maybe cheese sticks, bananas, some types of fruit are good snacks, and also yogurt, dairy, kind of high-protein snacks can be another good thing. Peanut butter and apple slices. I would try to keep it, again, fruits, vegetables, those types of things. Okay, and then let's see. Here's our next question. Are there any good routines to start now for students with special needs like ADHD, sensory processing disorder, or autism? I do. I think that, again, starting those routines early, the school year routine, really starting that out several weeks before school is going to start so that they get used to that routine again and are accustomed to it before school starts. Specifically for students with ADHD, oftentimes they may not take the ADHD medication over the summertime, or if they do, they may take it at sort of different times because they may be sleeping later, those types of things. So I would say for the week or two leading up to school, it would be a good thing to get back in the routine of taking those medications on a regular basis, and that would hopefully help them as they transition back into the school year. Okay, let's see.
Do you have any other tips about going to bed earlier? I see someone asked a question about that. Besides just starting.
It's hard, and that's why I think each night bringing that bedtime down a little bit, just about 15 minutes earlier each night, I think is one of the best ways to do it, versus if you try to go from a 10 o'clock bedtime all the way to an 8 o'clock bedtime, they're going to lay there awake for a long time or be up. You'll hear their little feet scurrying around. So that's why I think that the slow adjustment is the best way to do it, personally.
On that topic, is there different, like 8 hours is the recommended time for everyone, correct? Or is it different for children versus teenagers versus adults?
Okay, so that's a good question. So for your school-age kids, they are probably going to need about 10 hours of sleep at night. Okay, and then for sort of the preteen teenagers, oftentimes about 8 to 10 hours of sleep is ideal for them. Their brains are developing and growing, and they still need quite a bit of sleep. 8 hours for the average adult. Not that we always get it, but we should always strive for it. Let's see, there's somebody else that made a comment here about, I have my kids put the entire week of clothes together for each day on Sunday. They have a special drawer with 5 bins where they put all the stuff that they would need for that day in it. That is an awesome idea. I think that's great, and probably a great way to do things and keep it all organized. Let's see, another question I see here. What is your recommendations for homeschooled or virtual school children? Okay. With the homeschooled kiddos, I think, again, you're probably going to have had a bit more relaxed time over summer vacation and probably going back into that schedule again during the school year. So I think getting back set on what your routine is for how you do things would be very helpful. Again, screen time and technology time may be a little bit different in that sort of setting because part of the school may be on the computer. So I think there'd need to be an adjustment as far as screen technology time based on how much kind of free time for those types of things versus what is the school part of the day. Okay. Let's see, what else do we have here?
This is kind of a sensitive topic, but do you have any suggestions on how a parent would know if their child is being bullied by chance, or what to do in that situation?
Okay, and that's a tough topic to speak to, and I think that things are so much tougher these days in age compared to back when I was in high school. There are so many more outlets with the phones, the texting, all of the social media, and so it's hard because it's not just bullying in the school setting anymore. It's there, but it's also outside in the technology, social media part of things. I think that if you start to notice any changes with your child, specifically that they seem more moody, depressed, irritable, I think that it's really important to talk with them, be open with them, have good communication with them, and try to get them to open up and talk to you about if there is something bothering them or if someone has been bullying them at school. One of this isn't so much particularly about bullying, but I do think that it's really important, and I didn't add that in the slides before, but really important to have a dinner meal together as a family. I think that provides a great time for the family all to sit down together and have a chance to talk. And I think one of the best ways you can do that is just being involved with your kiddo's life and know what's going on with them, so that when you do see any of those changes, or if anyone starts bothering your child, they'll be open and ready to talk to you about those things.
Okay. I know sports teams and being active with other kids usually boost confidence with children. Do you have a recommendation of a certain age that a child should start doing sports teams or leagues or anything like that?
I think that depends, again, on your family too. It's tough as working parents to be able to make all those sports practice and games and all of those commitments. So depending on your schedule, when your child shows interest in it, wants to play, I think supporting that and getting them involved is a great thing. Like you said, it builds confidence. I think it also builds teamwork and working together as a team, which is a great thing to learn, because they'll continue to need that through life, not just in school, but in work later on. So I think it's when your child seems ready for that, interested in it, and your family can make it work.
Okay, great. I think that is all the questions we have. So just a quick tidbit that you can make an appointment with your pediatrician at any time. You can just call the Kelsey number or go online and book one. Dr. Eckhart is awesome, and she is here in the Clear Lake area, just a reminder. And that is going to conclude our webinar. So I want to give a very big thank you to you, Dr. Eckhart, for giving such great tips to us, and we hope everything is going to work out for you all this year and you can use some of these tips. Don't forget to join us next month for our webinar on August 17th, What's Up Down There, Prolapse, Incontinence, and UTIs, with Dr. Benjamin Dillon, who's a urologist. And don't forget to follow us on social media either and join in on the conversation. Thanks again for tuning in, y'all, and we'll talk to you next month.